Hey guys, we're back with Tinkering with Trent. Now I'm working on my '05 Dyna. Isn't she pretty? You want to replace everything as a whole when it comes to charging systems. Putting a rotor onto a stator, if you've never done it, it's pretty violent. If there's a crevice, powder coat will get there.
A little f***ed right now on this whole situation, actually. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with this guy.
But yeah, so I'm going to go through and show you how we make battery cable. Steel. And friction. For torque specs, refer to your service manual. If you don't have a service manual, go buy one, you cheap fuck.
I don't like that.
Hey guys, we're back with Tinkering with Trent. Now I'm working on my '05 Dyna. Behind me I have a table full of parts and wires and trash and shit. This is the rest of my motorcycle. Over here is my '05 Dyna. Isn't she pretty? It's almost a motorcycle. It's half a motorcycle. I've got the wheels on, thanks to Jade Affiliated. Legend sent me cartridges for the front. Pro One sent me trees, because I just had a frame and a drivetrain. I bought this bike off of my buddy Zach. He took the front end with him, both wheels, and the suspension. I had to kind of fill the pieces from there with a lot of help from great companies. Got archetype risers on here. We'll kind of go over what I have on the bike right now. Of course, a Brembo RCS 19. Once you run one, you'll never run without one. Bear grips, ODI tube, Elite clutch lever. I personally like this long, ugly Brembo lever. I know, I like it. It's my bike. I got a 95 that I built in it. It's fuel injected, which is my main bragging point about this motorcycle. I wanted fuel injection. Carbureted kind of sucks, especially when you travel as much as we do. Going up in elevation, when we go to Tahoe, super high up, Colorado, super high up, it sucks. I wanted fuel injection. I was tired of working with gas. It's a 95, 10-to-1 compression with a 543 fueling cam in it. This was also all blonde. It was an entire blonde motor, blonde cases, chrome covers, went through, powder coated every bit of it, tore apart the transmission, powder coated the housing, powder coated all the covers. We've got our Skynet wheels with a little twist. Jay likes to do a little special stuff for us when we put wheels on our own bikes, so you know, we have a solid, usually they're all punched through. Jay did something different for us. I got it powder coated gold. All this color scheme will make sense once the paint's on it, because I know there's like gold here, gray, purple. It looks kind of weird right now, but the paint will tie everything together. Today I'm just gonna kind of work my way through this thing. I think I'm gonna start with the primary, put that together, and then I have a rat's nest of a wiring harness right here that looks really scary if you don't know what you're looking at, but I'm just slimming down the stuff I'm not using. So like the Speedo stuff I'm not using, and that's pretty much it. So I'm cutting it all out of the harness instead of just leaving a bunch of wire cut in the middle of the harness. So I'll be working through that. I'm also gonna be putting a turnkey like a car, so ignition, start, that'll be cool. I gotta wire that in. Putting a Thundermax in it also, as you can see. And then a new primary chain, new clutch, tensioner. Here's a box of parts. This is what a build looks like when you have it all tore apart. So I'm gonna get to working on that. Ryan's working on his Corvette still, that never-ending project. There he is, trying to find motivation to work on his shit.
Bullshit.
He had to get a whole standalone ECM from Harley to make the cable work with his fly-by-wire harness. It's kind of a huge pain in the ass, I guess, switching from fly-by-wire to cable on that. So Holly had to send him a whole bunch more shit. Without further ado, let's get to work. He's here.
I have a lot of shit going on because Bike Week is in less than 2 weeks. It's weekend after the one that's coming, and I have to officiate a wedding this weekend in Havasu. Yes, you may refer to me as Father Kruesi or Reverend Kruesi if you'd prefer. So kind of really booked and really short on time, and the vet has to be done because the vet is part of the show. That being said, it was supposed to be at Dyno last Wednesday. That completely fell through because we couldn't get it to run because the stock ECM will not power or work with a cable throttle body because it throws a bunch of weird codes and it's super. But I got to do a lot of that. So Trent's going to be building his bike because this bike needs to be done also for the show. This will be a nice showpiece. We got the race bike running. It is going for dyno this Wednesday at Trask Performance. So it will run on pump gas again instead of really expensive T4. The Softail, the twin cam's good.
Tail, yep.
Everything's good. All of our stuff is ready to go except for this bike and the vet. And my truck, shit, I got to pick my truck up today too.
Okay.
My pre-runner is all done. That will also be at the show. We're going to have a lot of rad shit at the show April 6th, so don't miss it. Come out. Tickets are available at motoculture.com. Every $5 you spend on our website enters you in a chance to win a nice dyna.
I need a starter. I could put the inner primary on, I guess, right now. I'll do that. Oh, that horn deletes by My Machinist. Shout out Justin from My Machinist. I forgot what we got from him, and he sent that for 20. We got the horn delete for Terry's Road Glide, actually. So he sells horn deletes. He does a bunch of like billet parts, which are pretty rad. I'm sorry, Justin, I know you sell a lot of stuff, but I don't really know exactly what you sell. But he sells horn deletes, and they're pretty rad. So, like I said earlier, I had to powder coat every cover or every piece of this drivetrain. And when doing so, sometimes powder coat material and media gets all over the inside, like you see this. Sometimes they'll spray in here, then you get like all these little sand marks, which is pretty much what powder coat media is. It's like really fine grit sand. So you want to make sure you get all of that out, especially in motor stuff and transmission stuff. You don't want that sand going through, messing up all the gears and bearings and surfaces and stuff. So you got to spend time and really get all that shit out of there. So like on this one, they got a whole, but they pretty much powder coated the inside of the seal for my starter shaft. So I have to get in there and remove as much of it as I can, if not all of it, and it's not a big area to work in, so I'm kind of tediously rubbing my finger in there and all the cracks and surfaces. Which my cases and my transmission I took to a buddy of ours that has a vapor blaster, because it gets all that stuff out really nice and makes it pretty much brand new. But I didn't do that with this, so I'm gonna, sit here and do this for a while. Okay, so after about an hour and a half, I know it was only like a couple minutes, maybe seconds for you guys. Got the inside of that all cleaned up and good to go. I'm gonna wash this out in the solvent tank before I put it on, but I do need, before I do that, I need to put the stator and rotor in this shit because it won't clear the primary. So fresh build, I have all fresh parts coming on. I have a whole charging system from Cycle Electric going in this thing. Also, with charging systems, you want to replace them all as a unit. You don't want to just put a stator in it with all the old shit, because then your rectifier will go, or you don't want to put a rectifier in it because you want to replace everything as a whole when it comes to charging systems. We use Cycle Electric. They might be on the website. Should I put charging systems on the website? I'll put them on the website. If I'm talking about it, I'm going to put it on the website so you guys can buy it. Where am I? I need RVT.
I'm gonna hurt it on the radio.
Where's the right stuff? I have a box. In this box, I have styrofoam, paper, and a rotor. Putting a rotor onto a stator, if you've never done it, it's pretty violent. Watch the threads on the crank. Make sure she lines up. You always want to walk it on. Don't let the magnets just catch it and take it, because as you can see, it says no sharp blows. And that just hitting, on its own is a sharp blow. You don't want those magnets to come loose, because then they'll go through your primary and do a bunch of bad things. She's on.
When you say it was violent, does it grabs it?
Well, yeah, because the stator in there has magnets on the outside, and then there's magnets on the inside of this guy. And as soon as you get it close, it'll magnets do what magnets do. It's like, come here, bitch. So also when powder coating things, media and powder coat often get into the threads, because if there's a crevice, powder coat will get there. So you want to chase them all out, clean them all out, make sure you have clean threads. Clean threads are happy threads. It helps from bolts not getting caught and then stripping out the threads and then calling the people who you bought parts from saying that because you stripped a bolt out, it's their fault and they use shit hardware. I'm not speaking from experience at all. Clean your threads. They're happy. We had a guy call and tell us that he was putting on one of our derby covers and one of the bolts either like cross-threaded or he stripped out the threads or something like that and tried to say we use shit hardware on our derby covers and it was like our fault. We were supposed to do something about it, which is why we always recommend install be done by a professional. But we use like 18/8 stainless steel grade 8 bolts on everything. So like, no, it's not the hardware. You just gotta chase your threads and clean them out. So any gunk or leftover Loctite in them will gall up the threads and you'll strip them out because you'll just try and push through it and then it's aluminum. There go the threads, you know. So do all this tedious shit. It sucks, but you got to do it. I hate it. I don't like this part, but I like when I go out of town and my bike doesn't break down. So you got to do shit like this. So you put the bearing in the freezer because when metal gets cold, it shrinks. So you put the bearing in the freezer, and I didn't do that because we're out of MAP gas, I think, but you heat the outside of the primary because when metal gets hot, it expands. Drop the bearing in, blah, 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 dialed. All right, I got the inner primary on, as you can see. Now I'm just cleaning up some other parts for my compensator and clutch hub for the chains to put on. I need to find the little plate that goes here for the tensioner. Slowly moving. I got all that cleaned out. Got a new sealed bearing in. Got the seal up there. I'm waiting on a starter, so I'll probably get the jack shaft and that stuff just like in there for now. And then I'll bolt on the starter after. But I won't be able to put the cover on or anything like that until I get the starter in. And then I'll probably move on to the wiring harness, which is that rat nest of stuff you see up there, which will be a whole other thing to tackle. So I'm not gonna run any switches on the bars. I don't have the speedo, so I'm gonna kind of slim the wiring harness down to stuff that I really need. Pretty much just like the injectors, the ECU, of course, headlight, taillight, and the fuel gauge stuff will all still be working, but I won't have any switches or speedo. We'll go over that process too, so whenever you see this and call the shop and ask how I did it, I will refer you back to this video here.
Hey man, just watched you guys' YouTube and I was wondering if you could, over the phone, walk me through how to completely rewire my motorcycle for me.
We're gonna button up the primary. We're gonna put this on. I looked at this bike and I said, wow, that's a nice bike.
Anyway, that was a terrible Trump impression.
Trump?
Yeah, you hear that? Not bad, huh? Not too shabby. Yeah, you really just gotta, you know, the hands have to be off point. Shane Gillis did like a little tutorial on how to do Trump. You just gotta get his mannerisms right. Anyway, we got the primary back together. The stator and rotor compensators on, clutch baskets on. I had to go buy a new backing plate for my primary chain tensioner because in true Trick Bike Trent fashion, I lost mine. And now I'm putting the primary chain on, which I have a nice auto adjuster for an early model. This is an aftermarket Harley part. They came with manual adjusters from 99 to 05. And this is an auto tensioner. Always keeps your primary chain in the right tension it's dialed. 06 and up, they come with it. 05 and earlier, it's an aftermarket thing. So I'm gonna put this on, and then I have to soak my clutch plates. While that's soaking, I'll put the starter in, and then we'll be able to put the rest of it back together and have a dialed primary. I'm excited. Then I gotta move on to the wiring harness, which I am not excited for. Wiring is not my strong suit, but we're gonna make it work.
I pulled the front bumper off. I'm trying to find a place to put these oil coolers, and so far, zero luck. I'm gonna put the power steering cooler in the factory where the factory power steering. This is Z06, so it comes with a power steering cooler factory. It's just a smaller one, so I'm gonna put it right back in the same place. I just gotta do a little bit of fab work and cut some shit up, and because this one's like 3 times the size, so it ain't really fitting in there. But I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna get that down in there, get it all mounted and everything, and then I gotta pull the cooling system back out of the car to put the fans on, because that shit's gotta go in all together at one piece, so that shit's gotta be drained, that's gotta come back out. Oil cooler, I'm probably just gonna wait. I wanna get a bash bar up front, and then I'll probably mount the oil cooler off the front and then run it where the license plate hole normally is, and then just vent it through there. but that shit can wait. I don't want to deal with that right now. And I got to figure out how to run an oil sensor because we got to switch a bunch of stuff up from there. And I don't know where the hell, I can't find a good spot for this power steering reservoir. It used to be mounted over there off my coil bracket, but since they have those MSD coils up there, there is no room to put this big bastard anywhere at all. Thought about putting it down in this spot here, but it just, there's no way to mount it, and then I have to put these giant lines off of it as well, so like, I still gotta have room for this fitting. I'm a little f***ed right now on this whole situation, actually. I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do with this guy. I got Nathan. Even thought about just drilling through the side of the car and putting it right here, but the f***ing fittings are so big on this thing. Yeah, so I mean, it's not gonna clear my hood. Nothing under here is gonna clear my hood anyways. I got nowhere to put this thing. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy, man.
Back again, tinkering with Trick Bike Trent. Okay, let me catch you guys up to where I'm at. Primary is back together. I haven't torqued any of these yet. Got the starter in. My clutch plates are soaking. Now I'm just running kind of the ground of the starter. I'm gonna make a new ground wire for the battery because this one's a little shot. Got some wires cut out of her, and you need a good ground. Almost always when people have electrical issues and they hit us up, we make sure they check their battery terminal bolts, and it's usually a loose ground. Good ground is important. So I'm gonna make a new ground cable for that and I'm gonna run it a little different. Instead of running 2 grounds off the starter, I'm gonna run this starter ground to this guy and then run a ground up to the battery whenever I get a battery in there. And then once I have all that figured out, I'm gonna get the wiring harness in there and then start figuring out which wire goes where and cutting and splicing and dicing and... But yeah, so I'm gonna go through and show you how we make battery cable. Big thick guys, thickums. First, I have this shitty snap-on soldering iron. Hang on, I can get it to work eventually. There we go. Any water? Gotta wait for this shit to heat up. Okay, but basically I have one of these battery terminals. I have the wire stripped. I'm gonna fill this with solder and then dip the cable in there. Okay, I'm bringing out the big guns. Cheers. That didn't work. Scratch that, cancel. Girth.
Keep it warm. Let it sit for a little bit and cool all the way down, then pull on it, make sure she's pretty solid. I've honestly never done it that way before. I normally just fill it as
you go in there. Let me get some flush cuts. Okay, now I'm gonna get the length figured out that I need. Yeah, this is just, I forgot what gauge it is, like probably,
big as fuck.
Yeah, big as fuck gauge. It might say on it, 4 gauge battery cable. Okay, run that a little bit big, so I'm gonna go up here. You could always make a too long of a cable shorter. You can never make a too short of a cable longer. So when in doubt, make it a little bit longer than you think it needs to be. And most of the time it'll work just right. We don't have wire strippers that handle this gauge of wire. It's a little too thick for our little wire cutters, so just a nice little razor blade, run it around. Try and run it around straight. Easier said than done. And then slide her off. Boom, stripped. Stripped. Twist them together so it all fits in here nice. Okay, and just like before. Battery cable. Because you guys haven't seen us put a clutch in a bike in a while, I'm gonna put a clutch in this motorcycle. So you gotta, whenever you have a fresh clutch, you want the plates to soak in the fluid that you prefer. We prefer ATF type F for using Kevlar plates because it helps the clutch grab more. And you want the clutch to grab, not slip. So it's an easy process. I like to talk to myself while I do it so I don't forget, but you go friction, steel, friction, steel, friction, steel. So we'll start with the friction. There we go. Steel. Friction. Steel. And friction. On these, so the extra plate, you'll end up with a friction. The only clutch I've seen where you end up with a steel on the outside is a barnet. So barnets will end with a steel on the outside, but usually, and it really makes sense, you end with a friction on the outside. Start with a friction, end with a friction, and then the pressure plate goes on, which I need to torque all this shit first. For torque specs, refer to your service manual. If you don't have a service manual, go buy one, you cheap buck. So the first torque is 100 foot-pounds. That's our sprocket lock for the compensator. You want to know why it has this cool little long wire hanging out the back of it? So you don't forget to pull it out, because somebody at this shop forgot it in a primary one time and took a bike on a test ride. And we brought it back and we were like, man, there's some clack, that primary is real loud, right? Open the cover, or open the inspection cover, and this was just sitting on the chain. You want to know who did it? Me. So I got it out of the bike, and then I got it back out of the bike, took the bike for a test ride, and when I got back, Dave had that waiting on my toolbox for me. Okay, that's 100? Wow, that doesn't feel like 100 at all. Okay. I mean, there's like an actual tool for it, but we made our own because we're fancy. Okay, so the procedure is to torque to 100 foot-pounds, back it off one full turn, and then hit it again at 140 foot-pounds. One full turn. Give me my tool back. 140. So on these later bikes, the like 04 and up, compensating nut torque is what sets the end play of the crank in your cases, so it's very important to torque this guy and not just hit it with a gun. On like the, actually 03 and up, because 03 has roller bearings. On the Timken bearing stuff, it's not, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not important, but you could kind of get away with just hitting it with a gun, you know? Because the end play is set with the Timken bearings. This thing doesn't want to give me my tool now. There we go. All right, we're torqued. Put the pressure plate on the clutch now. Ooh, do I run the factory spring?
These are one of them bolts that you don't Loctite.
Yes.
They're under spring pressure. So therefore, the spring pressure is basically like Loctite. It's hard for something to back out when it's under tension. I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a brand new chain, so it's going to stretch too, but...
It is, and that's just going to get tighter and tighter too.
I have it on my 03 right now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the Manuels. But my chain does make a lot of noise, coincidentally, because it stretches and stretches like a son of a bitch. I put a new diamond chain on, and it stretched like
That's
fucking
what this
4
is.
inches.
Yeah, that's what this is.
Diamond, they stretch like a son of a bitch. I mean, they're not going to break, but they're also the best option out there. But as far as primary chain goes, they're just small links.
This is what you adjust your clutch with. So there's a rod in that shaft that was sticking out there. There's a rod that goes to the ball and ramp on the other side of the transmission, which I could pop that open and show you. So once you back out all these fancy ARP bolts, okay. Neutral. Okay. So in this shaft right here, this shaft goes all the way through your primary, and that's what your clutch hub bolts to. Then there's a rod in this shaft. That rod presses up against this guy. Your clutch cable goes into your ball and ramp. So when you pull the clutch in, this cable comes in, the ball and ramp comes out, pushes against this guy. Come on over to this side. That in turn pushes against this guy, engaging your clutch. And then when you release the lever, you disengage your clutch and it grabs and then sends power to the rest of the drivetrain. So yeah, when you do your adjustment, Like you're adjusting the rod against the ball and ramp. So you want a little bit of free play because when metal gets hot, everything expands. And then you also have additional free play up at the lever. See how this says 21 degrees? It changes the degree of the ball and ramp. I don't exactly know what degree it changes it to. That's like I like to say above my pay grade, but
Yeah, it's like order.
yeah. It's I think it's a shorter ball and ramp. When I get this all back together, I'll do a clutch adjustment. Blue on non-critical fasteners, red on stuff that'll kill you, and none on what you're not supposed to. So figure it out. Well, that quote from old Ryan Paul is what got me to MMI for the most part, and the amazing commercial that would come on at midnight every night. I mean, I'm out here living my dream, man. The motorcycle industry is amazing.
You had a commercial?
Oh yeah, if you ever saw Ryan's old MMI commercials, like long hair days, he's like sitting in one of the classrooms talking about how awesome MMI was.
I was in 2 international commercials and 1 info commercial. I was a poster boy for MMI like 15 years ago.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Also, I'm the poster boy for Continental Tire Company. I'm in all of their international ads, commercials, and
To this
posters,
day,
campaigns.
that
Still.
dildo that's riding that road glide with the half helmet and all the leather
And the hair?
and the hair, that's Ryan.
Is that something we have access to?
Actually, there's a flyer for it right here. Yeah, watch. That's Ryan Kruesi.
Via 2016.
Here, hang on. I think there's more.
Because
That's Ryan Kruesi right there. On to the clutch adjustment. Bring this guy in until she lightly seats. Notice 2 fingers. She sat. So, you know, she's bottomed. You don't want to go, let me tighten that. You want to just lightly seats. She seats, okay? Back off. So say that would be a half, right? So you go from here. I go a quarter. Then go over to your lever adjustment, which is over here. You'll be able to see the lever pull out. Watch, ready? There you go. Just pulling out. Okay. There's still all that free play in it still, so keep going. Okay, keep going a little bit more. Okay. Now, you'll see it all work. See the lever in. Take a look at the clutch. You can see it actually move and work. In, out, in, out. So this is one thing I always forget. It was kind of hard to remember Loctite and all that shit too, but MMI doesn't teach you about like cable lubes and like little things like that. That's kind of some shit you learn at shops. So I always forget to put lube in my cables, and Ryan always has to remind me 6 years later. So don't forget to lube the cables. Makes for easy, smooth operation. Keeps them from binding up and tearing also. I'm gonna put my primary cover on, fill it with fluid, and then I'll probably wrap it up there. It's already on like 5, right?
Yeah.
Once you get it all adjusted, you lock down your adjustment. Well, you lock it down here first, then lock it at the cable. And then put your nice little cable securing thing, frame, clamp, that's the word I'm looking for. All right, now I'm gonna get a primary gasket, put the primary on, which I probably have to clean that out. Yeah, go check in with Ryan. I might be in a world of shit here.
I'm working on the Earl's power steering fluid cooler. I just got done making this line, made these fancy ends. These are Earl's ends. It's all tightened and it still swivels. I was like, how the hell am I going to clock this thing? But I don't have to because it swivels. So I took an Earl's bracket, kind of carved it up. Let's see if you can peek underneath. Let me find my flashlight under here. Yonder here.
Oh, like literally.
Literally. There's the new brake line, power steering pump cooler. It had a stock one there before, but it was only about from here to here, and it was only about 2 inches tall. It was tiny. Pretty sure that's a 10 row. It could be more. It's massive. Now I've got some Earl's hose right here. I got them hose, Earl's fittings. Swivels, I just made this, put this all guy together right here. It was pretty easy, actually. I did slice the shit out of myself with a razor blade, but other than that, it was real simple. The swivel head makes it nice because I don't have to clock anything. So this is line number 1. She's gonna go just like so. And then I have to make another one as soon as I figure out where the hell I'm gonna put the reservoir. I still haven't figured that out yet. I don't have a clue, actually. But I'll get to that. And then I'm gonna run the other line from the cooler to the reservoir. So it'll be in line to the reservoir. It will be cooling that way. And then we will have to build out these other lines. I still got all this wiring bullshit to deal with, which I should put this guy on afterwards. I got a bunch of wiring to deal with. I got to pull another fitting out down there, put a new fitting in, make another line to return feed to the reservoir once I figure out where everything's going to go. Right now, at least I got that done. It was quite the endeavor trying to figure out where I even wanted to mount it. I took the bumper off, looked underneath there. The only thing I figured out having the bumper off is that I want to put a bash bar on it. So I'm trying to find somebody that's got a bash bar in stock. I did message some companies. Most of them are like made to order, and I don't want to wait 5 to 6 weeks to get one because I need the car for bike week, which is in less than 2 weeks. It'd be kind of cool to build like a pre-runner style bumper on the front of this, but I'm not going to do that either. But moving forward, I got to figure out where the hell I'm going to mount this reservoir, and it's almost quitting time, so I'll probably be getting back on that tomorrow. Yeah, she's big. It's like a big old pig that's got to go somewhere. And I don't know where. I'll probably have to test fit the hood and see how much clearance I have and see what I can do from there, and it's going to be a pain in the ass. Car shit.
How heavy should I get with this? I mean, I know like the primary will eat a lot of it up, but like...
Let's simple grain the thing really good. Maybe brush it with solvent. Don't dip this thing in solvent, but use the brush and brush it with solvent and rinse it off, and you should be fine. Just get the dust out of there. Powder coat, it's a bitch. You can just get your stuff powder coated and throw it on your motorcycle if you want to, but it's most likely going to fork you up the backside real soon. You got to clean it out. You got to, the little details of when you take it to a shop and you have your stuff like, I want all this powder coated. Well, there's a lot of time and labor in prepping it for powder coat and then prepping it to put it back on after powder coat, because it usually comes back dirty. I don't care who your powder coater is. I'm going to keep working on my reservoir. So back to Trent, Bob.
Cleaned up my outer primary. It wasn't nearly as bad as my inner primary, so putting her back on. I just wanted to get this on so I had a good stopping point for the night. I didn't want to leave it open, so I'm just kind of putting it on nice and snug. I got all these new fancy 12-point bolts, which are not branded ARP, but I'm pretty sure ARP probably makes them for whatever company this is, but my case bolts now are branded ARP, but bolt kits available at cruisyoriginals.com. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I'm pretty much done. I got the whole primary together. It took all day because I didn't have some of the pieces on hand. I had to run and do some parts running in typical Trick Bike Trent fashion. I didn't have everything organized and put away and blah, blah, blah. But I'll see you guys tomorrow.
I pretty much got where I can go today. I got to go back to the speed shop and get some more fittings there. I need one more weird little fitting for the power steering rack so I can make the return line to the reservoir. I did find out where I want to mount this reservoir. I got to get longer hardware for this, and then I'm going to machine some spacers, but I'm going to go right off of the hood latch. This thing actually is the same exact spread as the hood latch bolts. She's going to sit just like that, and then I'll put a aluminum spacer in between, bolt all this shit down, and everything should still work. Hopefully my hood still works. I'm going to try and I want to kick my hood up a little bit, the old JDM hood lift in the back. And I haven't figured out how to do that quite yet because this goes backwards, so this stuff isn't really movable, but I'm gonna probably shim the latches on the back of the hood and see if I can make something happen there and it's still latched down tight, which I'll have to make a standoff to force it into place so it doesn't fucking shake around. Whole lot to do, short time to get there. Eastbound and down, it's Kruesi Originals, cruisyoriginals.com. For every $5 you spend, enters you in a chance to win a custom-built Super Glide by us. And there's lots of dope shit on there. We've got everything from like cheap-ass keychains to really expensive motorcycle parts. So you could go spend $5 on a sticker and win a motorcycle. Love you. Thanks for watching. Peace.